The beginning of Chapter 1 is a pot of dog blood. Jiao Xia took Meng Xian to the GK International Hotel to film a scandal about a female celebrity. After 6 hours, Meng Xian was so sleepy that she could hardly keep her eyes open, but Jiao Xia was full of energy. The two are reporters from a well-known entertainment company, commonly known as paparazzi. The 21-year-old Jiao Xia started working in this entertainment company right after graduating from the Department of Journalism. He uncovered scandals about countless celebrities and was hated by countless celebrities. She once squatted for 25 hours in order to squat on the international star Lian Bai's scandal. The industry called her Desperate Saburo. It's already 11 o'clock. Xia Xia, let's go back to sleep, I'm so sleepy. Meng Xian yawned, missing her bed. Wait another hour, I received the news that she has secretly married the national male god, and I will go back to the love nest tonight, we will definitely be able to photograph them. Meng Xian suddenly cheered up, Xia Xia, I'm dazzled, don't you think that's Li Xiao? The woman next to him. Hey, it looks familiar, I remembered, the recent director Li's popular movie. She playing that mistress, she's pretty, big news, Xia Xia, take a quick shot. Jiao Xia is already stupid. Qiao Lan and Li Hui? Her cousin and her fiancé. The two were in a close relationship and entered the hotel all the way. Jiao Xia was stunned for 3 seconds, and decisively took Meng Xian out of the car, and chased him into the hotel. Li Hui's news value is no less than a celebrity. He is the eldest son of the Li Group, an established enterprise in City A. He is handsome and romantic. The image of God, the man who is called the most wanted to marry by the media, the real Diamond King. Meng Xian had already licked Li Hui countless times on the cover of Finance and Economics, and seemed very excited. Li Hui and Qiao Lan were very close along the way, touching and kissing each other from time to time, and finally entered a presidential suite. I'm not convinced. Why did the male fall in love with mistress? Could it be that mistress is his fiancée? The media dug for Li Hui's fiancée for more than a year, but there was no trace of it. Jiao Xia sneered, it's really a good show, Huan, let's go, let's play a big one. Xia, what are you going to do? Seeing Jiao Xia's creepy smile, Meng Xian subconsciously felt that something was wrong. Jiao Xia was cheerful and lively, with a sharp tongue. He was hated by many celebrities within less than half a year as a paparazzi. Still dare not offend, she has her own ability. How many people have troubled Jiao Xia, but she stopped her. There is always a calm signature smile on her face. As if the sky is falling, she can take away natural disasters with a smile. The two waited for half an hour. Jiao Xia took Meng Xian to knock on the door. Meng Xian was terrified. Jiao Xia said, don't worry, nothing will happen. After waiting for a long time, Qiao Lan finally came to knock on the door. Her hair was loose and she was wrapped in a bathrobe. Jiao Xia was stunned, Jiao Xia. Hi, sister. Jiao Xia suddenly brightened, and suddenly tore off her bathrobe, and took several photos in a row. Qiao Lan screamed, ah! Jiao Xia, you bitch! While screaming and cursing, she picked up the bathrobe and wrapped herself up. Li Hui, who was wearing a bathrobe and looking lazy, also came out of the room. She was also stunned when she saw Xia Qiao. Jiao Xia pointed her camera at them and said with a smile, come on, my fiancé and cousin, have a laugh. The camera snapped several photos of them disheveled. Meng Xian on the side was dumbfounded. Li Hui is Jiao Xia's fiancé? Qiao Lan is Jiao Xia's sister? Jiao Xia devoted himself to digging up other people's scandals, but accidentally found out about his own scandal? My husband is in love with my sister, where is the tragic sister going? Fuck, Meng Xian has already thought about the title of the bosom friend style, it's just a drama. Qiao Lan's face turned red, and she was almost mad when Jiao Xia took a photo. Li Hui frowned slightly. Xiao Xia, why are you here? I'm not here, how did I come across this good show, my fiancé? Xiao Xia sneered, by the way, sister, I'll give you a piece of advice. When you sleep with someone else's husband, remember to wear a condom for him. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 I want to dance for my husband. Xiao Xia took Meng Xian away. Li Hui wanted to catch up, but it was inconvenient to be disheveled, and Xiao Lan tripped him, so he had to give up. Xiao Xia was drunk. Meng Xian was very worried and curious in her heart. Xiao Xia turned out to be Li Hui's fiancé. She really didn't expect it, it was so explosive, but Xiao Xia must be sad today, she didn't even see her Xiao Xia drank so much. Xia Xia, don't drink. Although Meng Xian was curious, she didn't ask any more questions. After drinking with her for a while, she blocked her all the way. Xiao Xia's character could not be stopped by others, and she finally got drunk. He said, there are no two-legged frogs, and there are two-legged men everywhere. This is not good, let's change it. Man. Xiao Xia hiccuped, obviously, 3 legs. Meng Xian. Okay, don't drink, I'll take you home. Meng Xian picked up Xiao Xia, and just took 2 steps, one of her feet staggered without paying attention, and even threw Xiao Xia out. Xiao Xia was drunk, already dizzy, and felt extremely uncomfortable in her stomach. It was too late for Meng Xian to caress her. However, the expected embarrassment and fall did not happen. Xiao Xia just bumped into an oncoming person. In the arms of a man. A man in black strode up behind the man and was about to tear Xiao Xia away when she suddenly raised her head and smiled at the man foolishly. The man in black grabbed Xiao Xia's hand and threw it away. 4 young masters. The man waved his hand, his eyes fell on Xiao Xia's face, a hint of surprise flashed in his deep eyes. Xiao Xia kissed him foolishly, honey, how about I dance for you? I want to dance for my husband. Man. Meng Xian. Xiao Xia let go of the man, swayed and twisted his waist, and danced to the music in the bar, taking off while dancing, obviously full of charm, but looked so fragile, like a porcelain doll. Alcohol made her cheeks rosy, attracting people to commit crimes. The eyelids of the man in black behind the man twitched. This girl is so individual that her waist is about to be broken. She is clearly drunk. Xiao Xia took off her coat, threw it away gracefully, and then tugged at her buttons. Meng Xian finally found her chin that fell on the ground, and hurriedly went to hug her. Xia Xia, don't make trouble. No, I want to dance for my husband. Xiao Xia still smiled foolishly. Dance your yarn dance, you are dancing a striptease, sister. Sir, I'm sorry, my friend is drunk, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Xiao Xia, who was drunk, was writhing in her stomach, and was pulled by Meng Xian again. Xiao Xiaoshan sprayed flowers all over her body. Meng Xian. Man in black. Xiao Xia, who had been making a fuss, finally calmed down, leaning against Meng Xian stupidly and softly, with an innocent look. Meng Xian's face turned green, wishing to get into a hole in the ground, wishing to lose Xiao Xia and run away. I'm really sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Meng Xian didn't care about Xiao Xia's coat and the man's gloomy face, dragged Xiao Xia out of the bar, and fled. Xiao Xia likes to striptease when she's drunk, and calls her husband when she catches someone. Xiao Xia. The man looked at the disgusting vomit on his body, extremely indifferent. The man in black behind pretends nothing happened. Meng Xian is Xiao Xia's colleague. She didn't know where Xiao Xia lived, so she had to take her home. After going home for more than an hour, Xiao Xia finally regained consciousness. Meng Xian found her a set of clean clothes for her. Go to the bathroom to freshen up. Xiao Xia began to practice in the company at the beginning of the year, and they were hired directly after graduation. They worked as colleagues for a year. In Meng Xian's view, Jiao Xia is a girl who combines strength and softness. Smile. Except for her, no one in the office likes Jiao Xia. They all say that Jiao Xia is a green tea whore. A newcomer came to the company and won the headlines for half a year, which is indeed enviable. Meng Xian woke up suddenly in the middle of the night and heard a burst of crying. Jiao Xia was wearing thin pajamas, curled up on the balcony alone. Low and sad cries came from the balcony one after another. The December night was as cold as frost, and Meng Xian felt distressed watching it. She didn't want to disturb Jiao Xia. However, in such a cold day, it's not worth getting sick from the cold. She turned on the light and went out with her coat, and covered Jiao Xia's body involuntarily. Jiao Xia's face was mottled with tears, and her eyes were red and swollen. I don't know how long I cried. Xian Xian, I'm so sad. Jiao Xia was sobbing. Meng Xian pulled her back forcefully, not knowing how to comfort her. She understands the pain of emotional betrayal, let alone such a strong person as Jiao Xia. The more she pretends to be indifferent, the more my heart is riddled with holes. It's always going to pass. It's good to know what kind of person he is. Meng Xian said, my friend's boyfriend is an interior designer with an annual salary of several million. He drives a sports car and is also handsome. Look how good he is. Huaxin, all men have a virtue. We have known each other since we were young, and we have been in love for more than 10 years. Jiao Xia covered his eyes with one hand, afraid that he would burst into tears again. The person he cheated on can be anyone. Why is it my cousin? He knows very well how much I hate her. Okay, don't cry, don't cry. Xia Xia is so beautiful and talented. Why don't you find a better man than him, and bring a better man to show off in front of your sister in the future? That's what you left over. If she picks it up, she will be a treasure. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. My money was swallowed by white eyes nagging all night. Meng Xian cried with her for most of the night, and also learned a little about the situation of Jiao's family. The history of the Jiao family is quite complicated. During the Republic of China, it was a big family. By the generation of Grandpa Jiao Xia, the Jiao family had already declined, barely able to maintain a well-off life. Jiao Xia's mother is an only child with a good family background. The two husband and wife support each other, and they have grown Jiao's and almost monopolized the bathing market in City A. Jiao's has 8 large supermarket chains in City A and dozens of stores across the country. Became the leader in the industry. 11 years ago, Jiao Xia's family of 4 traveled to Egypt and encountered an anti-government revolutionary army riot. Jiao Xia's parents and sister died in a foreign country. Jiao Xia miraculously survived a month after being kidnapped. Jiao Xia has an uncle, Jiao Guang, who was ignorant when he was young, and worked as a manager in a supermarket of Jiao's. When the family was separated, Grandpa Jiao gave him 2 houses and a supermarket, and Jiao's 200-year-old house was left to Jiao Xia. Dad. After the death of Jiao Xia's parents, the support of the Jiao family was gone. Grandpa Jiao was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer. The white-haired man sent the black-haired man away. Before long, he passed away. Before he died, he entrusted Jiao Xia and the Jiao family to Jiao Guang. Jiao Guang also logically became Jiao Xia's guardian. 10 years have passed. Jiao Guang's family not only occupied Jiao's business, but even Jiao Xia's ancestral home. Jiao Guang and his aunt treated Jiao Xia worse than a stranger. The 8 years of indifference made Jiao Xia suffer. When Xia became an adult at the age of 18, she moved out of Jiao's old house and rented a house outside. Li Hui and Jiao Xia were childhood sweethearts, and the two families made a verbal agreement with in-laws very early on. The two hit it off, and the relationship was confirmed in the first year of high school. Later, Li Hui went abroad for further studies. Although the two talked about platonic love, their relationship has always been very good. Jiao Lan is Jiao Guang's eldest daughter, 3 years older than Jiao Xia. Meng Xian was very angry when she heard that Jiao Guang's family took over Jiao Xia's property. She didn't say anything and moved out to stay away from them. Xiao Lan even robbed Xiao Xia's fiancé. Xiao Xia went to work with red and swollen eyes, and the heavy makeup couldn't cover her eyes. The media department of TVE Entertainment Company has always been the vein of fashion and gossip. Most of them are women, and they are especially fierce. Xiao Xia is a competitor in the office except Meng Xian. Xiao Xia remained silent. No matter what they said, her silence was golden. Everyone was very surprised. If it was normal, Xiao Xia would have pushed her back. Why is she so quiet today? She doesn't look like Xiao Xia at all. I didn't find any news yesterday. Xiao Xia was scolded in the director's office. The whole morning was full of smog and he had no appetite. It was very uncomfortable. Xioxia, I happen to be near your company. I haven't seen you for a long time. Let's have a meal. When Xiao Xia received Fang Xioxia's call, it was lunch break. Fang Xioxia is Li Hui's mother. She and Xiao Xia's mother are classmates. During the first 2 years of her bereavement, Fang Xioxia treated her very well and took good care of her, but in recent years she has become much colder. When Li Hui took her home for dinner, Fang Xioxia's attitude was also extremely indifferent. Not to mention taking the initiative to find her for dinner. Okay. Fang Xioxia invited her to a Western restaurant. When she passed by, Xiao Lan was actually there. The two had an intimate attitude, like a mother and daughter. Xiao Xia's head went blank, as if someone had slapped her. They could really humiliate her. Did such a thing, dare to come here and humiliate her. Xiao Xia, you're here. Xiao Lan's voice was delicate, and she couldn't hide the triumph between her eyebrows. Aunt Fang said it's been a long time, and she invited me to have dinner together, don't you mind? I really mind. Xiao Xia remained expressionless. Xiao Lan's face froze. She didn't expect Xiao Xia to be so shameless that she was going to have a fit. However, because of Fang Xioxia's presence, she held back her anger so as not to leave a bad impression on Fang Xioxia. Xiao Xia, are you blaming Aunt Fang for saying that? Fang Xioxia also turned cold. Xiao Xia still had a frosty look on her face. Xiao Lan smoothed things over and tried to portray herself as gentle and pleasant. Aunt Fang, the food in this restaurant is good. Xiao Xia, you are welcome too. I think you haven't been to such a restaurant for a long time to eat. These words ridicule Xiao Xia's poverty, the mockery is in place, and it also makes her look like a close sister. Xiao Xia smiled, yes, my money was swallowed up by a group of witty-eyed wolves. Xiao Lan's complexion changed drastically. This is an indisputable fact, but Xiao Xia never mentioned it publicly. She thought that Xiao Xia was afraid of them, but she didn't expect to say it so sharply in front of Fang Xioxia. Who do you say is a witty-eyed wolf? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Why is it too urgent to meet each other? Okay, they are all sisters, and they can't write 2 characters of Jiao in one stroke. Why are you so anxious? Fang Xioxia said, Xiao Xia, Aunt Fang came to you today and wanted to discuss something with you. Last night can the photos taken be destroyed? Aunt Fang, you. Xiao Xia's mood fell to the bottom, and she actually knew it and acquiesced. Xiao Lan became confident again, looking at Xiao Xia proudly. 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi, what she said is absolutely correct, even if she was not as good as sister Xiao Xia and Xiao Dong when she was young. So what? Now Xiao Dong after death, Xiao Xia has changed from the young lady of the Xiao family to an unknown person, and she is the young lady of the Xiao family. What qualifications does Xiao Xia have, to have such an outstanding man as Li Hui? She told me about Hui and Xiao Lan. They are in love with each other. It is reasonable for them to be unable to help themselves. If your photos are released, Hui's image will be ruined, and the reputation of our Li family will also be ruined. It will be affected. Fang Xioxia said, twisted melons are not sweet, and you understand this truth. After all, you and Ahui's childhood sweethearts are in the past. Now, you are not worthy of Ahui. When Fang Xiaoxia said these words, the gloom that had been hidden in her heart for 20 years also came out. She and Xiao Xia's mother are college classmates. She and Xiao's father first met and fell in love with him, but felt that she was not good enough and dared not confess. Xiao Xia's mother is her good friend, and she often takes Xiao Xia's mother out to play. After going back and forth, Xiao Xia's parents secretly fell in love. She was anxious and angry at the time, wishing to break up with Xiao Xia's mother. In her heart, Xiao Xia's mother has always been a green tea whore, who stole her boyfriend. She always felt that Xiao Xia's father chose Xiao Xia's mother because Xiao Xia's mother had a good background, and marrying her would save 10 years of struggle. Now, she can finally tell Xiao Xia that you are not worthy of my son. Li Ying, your daughter is not worthy of my son. Xiao Xia's heart is twisted like a knife. Is this Li Hui's meaning? The relationship of more than 10 years ended with just one sentence? Back when she was the young lady of the Qiao family, Aunt Fang, why didn't you say you were not good enough? Does Li Hui want to marry someone he likes, or the eldest lady of the Qiao family? Now that her parents have passed away and her family property is taken over by her uncle, she has lost everything, so she is not good enough? Xiao Xia, don't blame auntie for speaking directly. If you marry a Hui and someone asks what my daughter-in-law does and how her family background is, how can I tell them that my daughter-in-law is a paparazzi and has no family background? Isn't this embarrassing our Li family? Fang Xiaoxia said helplessly, the reality is so cruel. A few years ago, when you were young, I didn't say anything. Now, when you grow up, you should accept the reality. Is this what Li Hui meant? Fang Xiaoxia said, this is what our family means. It's not right that you and a woman are not in the same household. At most, you two are dating and breaking up. It's no big deal. These days, marriage with fingertips has long been out of the question. Aunt Fang, if my parents are still alive, Xiao's is still ours, would you still say that? Xiao Xia's eyes were full of tears. Fang Xiaoxia was said to be the center of the matter, and she became angry from embarrassment. You also know that is the case. The fact is, your parents have died long ago. You are an orphan, and you still want to enter my Li family's door. She paused, and knew that she had overreacted, and said lightly, people are more self-aware, and they won't be so annoying. You can decide for yourself about the photo, unless you want to lose your job. After Fang Xiaoxia left, Xiao Lan looked at Xiao Xia proudly, did you hear what Aunt Fang said? Hand over the photo. If the photo is exposed, the Li family will not let you go, and you won't be able to stay in the company any longer. I know you took the photo to threaten me, let me tell you, I will not be threatened by you. Xiao Xia was indifferent, tears seemed to have been shed last night. Why, they are so aggressive. She doesn't care about anything anymore, she just wants to form a warm little family with Li Hui, and they still want to be so aggressive. Xiao Lan, you are very proud. As long as it is mine, you will grab it. You are so naive. Since they moved to the ancestral house, as long as it is hers, Xiao Lan will grab it. Her toys, her beautiful watches, Jolin wants all her clothes. Now, even her boyfriend, Xiao Lan, is also robbed. Don't put gold on your face. What do you have that I don't care about? Li Hui has long since stopped loving you. The person he likes is me. You don't care about your status. A toad wants to eat swan meat. Xiao Xia smiled brightly, we are girls from the Qiao family, and I am Toad. What are you? You. Xiao Lan became impatient, and glared at Xiao Xia angrily, you are just an abandoned woman, I am too lazy to argue with you, the fortune teller is right, the ancestral house of more than 200 years really has aura, and the owner is prosperous, you are just a nobody now, how can you compare with me? She stepped on high heels and left proudly. Qiao Lan's words reminded her of the legend about the Qiao family's ancestral house. The Qiao family's ancestral house has a history of more than 200 years. According to legend, this house is located in an excellent feng shui location, and it is especially prosperous. As long as you own this house, you can have a steady stream of wealth. The ancestors of Qiao's family owned this house more than 100 years ago and made a fortune. During the Wen Ji period, this house was confiscated for public use, and the Qiao family gradually declined. It was not until Qiao's father went to middle school that the house was returned to Qiao's family. The Qiao family has gradually improved since then. As long as anyone who has owned this house is a wealthy person. Qiao Xia never believed in this. She always believed that it was the hard work of her parents that changed the Qiao family. Now that Qiao Lan mentioned it, she suddenly realized why her uncle and aunt tried to drive her out of the ancestral house again and again. Was it because they were afraid that she would occupy the feng shui of the ancestral house? It's ridiculous. She really has nothing now. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 First Love Abuse into a Dog Series. Qiao Xia went to work in a daze, but unexpectedly, a scandal about Qiao Lan broke out in the afternoon. It was taken again by a paparazzi of the company. It was a photo of Qiao Lan and a director kissing passionately. Qiao Lan has just become popular recently, and there have always been a lot of scandals, nothing new. If it was just her, she wouldn't attract attention, but the director's scandals have always had a great influence. His wife is a popular actress, and they are a model couple in the circle recently. The news that the two are going to divorce has also caused a lot of noise. As soon as the scandal came out, it spread all over the world in an instant, and Qiao Lan's Weibo was full of curses. Qiao Xia, I didn't expect you to have such a scandal to arrange me. I hate you, and I won't let you go. Qiao Lan called and roared heart-piercingly, with hatred in his voice. Qiao Xia couldn't argue and didn't want to. It's not her who sent out the news. Qiao Lan would think it was her fault if something went wrong. Her test scores were not satisfactory, her first love didn't love her, all kinds of weird things could be blamed on Qiao Xia, and she was used to it. Li Hui also called, Xiao Xia, I know you have hatred in your heart, and there is a reason why I am with her. You broke her scandal, what good is it for me, and what good is it for you? After she caught him cheating, Li Hui called for the first time, not to justify or admit anything, but to accuse her for Qiao Lan. Qiao Xia felt desolate in her heart. I'm happy. She heard her own dull voice. I didn't expect that you would be this kind of person. Li Hui's voice seemed helpless, but also disappointed. I didn't expect that you would climb into my sister's bed. Qiao Xia said mockingly, Li Hui, I haven't done a single thing to apologize to you in all these years. I really thought that we could get married. Get old together. You want to break up? Tell me, why do you want to humiliate me in this way? Li Hui said, my parents will not agree to our marriage. I'm not the eldest lady of the Qiao family, but Qiao Lan. So, I'm not good enough for you, am I? Qiao Xia's mouth was full of bitterness, and her eyes were filled with desolation. Is status really that important? Should his feelings be measured by his net worth? Xiao Xia, let's break up, don't do such indifferent things again, it's really ugly. Li Hui sighed, one day, you will understand me. Li Hui hung up the phone. Qiao Xia was expressionless, saying break up, ending her 10 years of love. Childhood sweethearts and childhood sweethearts have become a thing of the past. She is so sad. It would be great if her parents were still alive, and she wouldn't be bullied like this. Qiao Lan's revenge was to publicize the news of her and Li Hui's marriage. She even talked falsely about it, bribed a paparazzi, and spread in Qiao Xia's office that Qiao Xia was the third party between them. A few days ago, he deliberately photographed their intimate photos to threaten them. For a while, the women in the office pointed at Qiao Xia, and even taunted her mercilessly. Qiao Xia, you are so short of men, you don't even let your sister's men go. Yet, your eyes are swollen from crying. It's because men look down on you. Did you cry all night? Don't be ashamed, you even want to climb on your brother-in-law's bed, you want to marry into a wealthy family, are you crazy? She looks like a vixen, so I'll say she looks like a vixen. She's only a mistress. Shameless, I'm actually working with such a person. Xiao Xia was trembling with anger. Overnight, all the pressure and pain swept over her, crushing the last straw in her heart. She almost collapsed. She obviously didn't do anything, but she was hacked by Qiao Lan. The man who lost his mistress and robbed his sister loves vanity and wants to marry into a wealthy family. Qiao Lan, why are you? Why did you hurt me like this? She is Li Hui's girlfriend, very few people know about it, none of her friends know about it, and she doesn't have any very close friends, only Meng Xian knows about it. But Meng Xian had a good relationship with her in the office, and when he defended her a few words, everyone's ridicule became even stronger. Xiao Xia must be delusional. How could someone like Li Xiao be with Xiao Xia? Don't talk about it, look at her poor appearance, it's no wonder Li Xiaowai takes a fancy to her. If she is Li Xiao's girlfriend, I will be Li Yifeng's wife. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 Give me back my house. Xiao Xia is not popular in the office and is hated by others. When this kind of thing happens, it is not a big deal to fan the flames and watch the excitement. There are too many women. Xiao Xia was criticized by thousands of people for a while, suffering unspeakably. After struggling until the end of get off work, Xiao Xia finally collapsed, his eyes darkened, and he passed out on the street. When she woke up, she was in the hospital with Meng Xian beside her. When she passed out, Meng Xian happened to be not far away and called for help to take her to the hospital. Tomorrow is Saturday, so she can just rest and avoid it for 2 days. The sarcastic remarks in the office are too hurtful. Xia Xia, do you just let them bully you like this? They took over your house, your sister took over your fiancé, and your uncle's family took over your company, so you just let it go? You take it back, it was originally it's fine if they what belongs to you, but how can you bear to hurt you so much? I can't get the shares back. Over the years, my uncle has transferred all the stocks. I was young and ignorant. He asked me to sign, and I signed. But I must get the ancestral house back. Xiao Xia called Xiao Guang in advance. Uncle, I'm going home tomorrow, I have something to tell you. Xioxia, about Xiaolan. Xiao Xia hung up the phone. His uncle had fulfilled his obligation to support her. She was afraid that she couldn't help it and would swear at him. The next day, Xiao Xia arrived at the ancestral house in the afternoon. This villa is located in a busy area, quiet in the midst of the hustle and bustle. It looks quite like the style of the Republic of China period on the outside. The inside has been renovated and luxuriously decorated. The legend of this house has long been spread in City A. Some businessmen once offered high prices for it. Xiao Guang refused to sell this house, and he couldn't sell it either. The names on the real estate certificate were Grandpa Qiao and Papa Qiao. Xiao Guang looked embarrassed, the villa was cleaned spotlessly, and the servants were busy up and down, as if they were preparing for a banquet. Xiao Xia, it's the same if you have something to say on the phone, and you even made a special trip. Uncle, I can't make it clear on the phone, so I'll come here in person. What's there to say, isn't it because of your sister and Li Hui's affairs, although she did something wrong, but if you didn't spread the scandal about her first, she wouldn't lie. In the final analysis, it's still your fault. Lu Mensi protected looking at his daughter. What's wrong with me? Ahui and I really love each other. She and Ahui have lost their relationship for a long time. Do you still want to drag Ahui for the rest of your life? Xiao Lan's voice was sharp and mocking. This kind of true love is invincible. Xiao Xia really wanted to laugh. Can true love hurt others unscrupulously? She likes Li Hui and is grateful to Li Hui. After her parents passed away, she was brought up by her uncle, but she always felt that she was an outsider. She always thought that Li Hui would give her a home. Li Hui has always been Xiaoxia's deepest sustenance and nostalgia when she was alone in the middle of the night. Whoever thinks of it will change it. Caught off guard. Although Jiao Guang felt that this matter was unreasonable, who could tell what happened to young people? After all, he still loved his daughter, and Xiaoxia was not his own after all. I knew Xiaoxia understood the truth the most. Xiaoxia said, when it comes to being sensible, then, I should talk to my uncle about some things. What do you say? As long as uncle can promise you, he will definitely promise you. You should return the 45% of Jiao's shares to me. Xiaoxia looked at Jiao Guang with burning eyes, and she saw every detail of Jiao Guang's expression from joy to anger. Before Jiao Guang could speak, Lu Menzi couldn't sit still. Why did you give you 45% of the shares? You have eaten and drank at our house for so many years, and we haven't confiscated you. You have the face to ask Jiao Guang in the past 10 years, have you contributed to Jiao's shares? Xiaoxia smiled brightly, why should I? Just because I am the legitimate heir of the Jiao family, because the Jiao family was founded by my parents, and because you have only helped me take care of it for so many years. Could it be that you have lived in the house you rented for 10 years, and this house has become yours? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. A superb family auntie, you said that I am shameless. I have been eating and living in your house for so many years. Who is shameless? Whose house is this house? Whose house is Qiao's? I don't take a cent of the annual dividends. Who took it away? Am I shameless? I want to ask, who is shameless? LV Menzi's face was red and white by Xiaoxia's words. She was ashamed, and angrily pointed at Xiaoxia and cursed, you ungrateful thing, if it weren't for us, you would have died, you actually, unexpectedly. Xiaoxia knew that after 10 years, it was impossible for her to get back Qiao's shares. How could she, a little girl with no connections, win against Jiao Guang? I don't know how many shares are left. The people her father left behind were all expelled by Jiao Guang, and they have long ceased to work in Qiao's. Qiao Lan said contemptuously, you dare to want Jiao Shi without shame. If it weren't for Dad, Jiao Shi would have disappeared a long time ago. You are really shameless and will take advantage of it. My father and mother have raised you for so many years, and your conscience has been eaten by dogs. Gone. Xiaoxia looked at Jiao Guang, uncle, Qiao's shares and this house, what do you say? Jiao Guang's face changed. He is a superstitious person, and this house is also his heart disease. After the house came back, Grandpa Chia wrote his and Xiaoxia's father's names on the real estate certificate. He bought his other 2 houses, but how can they be compared with this house? Zhou's fortune has changed with the ownership of this house from prosperity to decline, and then to prosperity. He firmly believes that this house has brought him good luck. This house is made of iron and cannot be faked, and his name is not written on the real estate certificate. For so many years, Lu Menzi has been wanting to transfer the ownership, but Xiaoxia has kept an eye out and is unwilling to sign. This house is a priceless treasure, covering an area of 600 square meters. There is no second one in City A for such an iconic old house. Xiaoxia, you even want a house, you're dreaming. Lu Menzi was the first to object, the real estate of this house is worth almost 100 million. Jiao Guang said, Xiaoxia, when my grandfather passed away, I said that those shares will not be given to you until you get married. Before you get married, your uncle is in trusteeship, and the house will not be transferred to your name until you get married. Besides, well, over the years, the shares have been diluted, and it is not easy for uncle to maintain such a large company. How can Qiao's share be 45 now? The Qiao family business was established by Xiaoxia's parents. At that time, Xiao Guang was just a manager in a small supermarket. Xiao Xia's parents passed away early and did not make a will. 6%, and leave the rest to Xiao Xia. At that time, Xiao Xia was only 10 years old, and the grandfather of the Xiao family could only hand over the Xiao family to Xiao Guang. He also knew that Lu Menzi was greedy by nature, so he left a will and asked Xiao Guang to trust Xiao Xia's shares until she got married. Originally, she thought that Xiao Xia and the Li family would get married. With the help of the Li family, Xiao Xia would not lose everything. Before Xiao's grandfather died, he urged her not to transfer the ownership of the house, so Xiao Xia kept an eye on it. Since tearing up the face, it is better to tear it to the end. As long as I get married, you will give me the shares and move out of my house, right? Xiao Xia asked with a smile. I won't give you the shares or the house, so give up. Lu Menzi said, the house is so valuable, how could it be possible to give it to Xiao Xia? The shares have already been transferred, so she shouldn't even want it. In the past few days, I will transfer the ownership. Dead girl, you have been unwilling to sign for so many years, it doesn't matter, I know people from the real estate bureau, it's just a few documents for money, you give up. Xiao Xia has a pair of beautiful almond eyes, the corners of which are still long, and she always smiles brightly, which is very attractive, but Xiao Lan has an ominous premonition. Xiao Xia took out the photos taken yesterday from her bag and threw them on the table. Sister, your career has just started. This photo, this figure, is high definition and uncensored. If you want to send it out, how many people will have to kneel and lick it? Stars are the best. I'm afraid of scandal, even if you talk nonsense and turn the truth upside down, I will tell the truth, even if I lose my career, it doesn't matter, it's a big deal, let's finish the game together. Xiao Lan frantically snatched the photos on the table, his face pale. You. Xiao Guang was shocked. Little sister, she is your older sister. Oh, when she slept with my fiancé, why didn't she think that Li Hui was her sister's man? Who of you thinks I'm my sister? Xioxia, you. Xiao Guang wanted to say that he didn't know what was good and what was wrong, but he couldn't speak in the face of Xiao Xia's menacing eyes. We can discuss the matter of the house, Xioxia, Uncle shares can give you some, but house. This house is mine. Xiao Xia smiled brightly, your name is not on the real estate certificate, uncle. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 Shameless people are invincible that doesn't have your name. The old man's name on the real estate certificate and the old man's inheritance are all left to you. That's not fair. The old lady is still alive. Why is it your turn to inherit the old man's estate? Even if it goes to court, it's us Zanli, you alone are the blood of the old man, aren't we? Lu Menzi's voice became sharp, and she had heard the story of this house. How is she willing to give it to Xiao Xia? My father's name is on the real estate certificate, and there is also the will left by my grandfather. All along, I have been patient everywhere, always making you think that I am a sick cat, so anyone would dare to steal my things. Xiao Xia turned and left, then turned around suddenly, and said with a smile, you guys are like dogs, it's disgusting. What are you arguing about? A majestic voice came from upstairs. Xiao Xia stopped, and looked at the old lady upstairs, that was her grandma. Grandma Xiao has always favored her younger son, doted on Xiao Guang since she was a child, and rejected Xiao Xia very much. When Xiao's mother was pregnant, Grandma Xiao had a dream. She dreamed that she was the eldest grandson of Xiao's family. She was so happy that she even treated Xiao's mother better. Later, when Xiao Xia was born, she was very disappointed and went to a fortune teller for a fortune telling. The fortune teller said that Xiao Xia's fate was too hard, he killed his eldest grandson, and his fate was born with an unknown fate. Grandma Xiao complained about Xiao Xia since Xiao Xia was born. Fortunately, Xiao Guan and his wife liked Xiao Xia very much and did not favor boys over girls. Grandma Chiao also felt that she listened too much to her wife and didn't listen to her mother, and she was prejudiced against Jiao Xia's mother. Jiao Xia's custody was given to Jiao Guanghao. Grandma Chiao couldn't wait to take her youngest son back, and regarded Jiao Xia as a broom star and nemesis. Jiao Lan went up to meet her, her face full of grievance and tears. "Grandma, Jiao Xia said she wanted us to move out of the house. She said this is the house left to her by Grandpa, we are not qualified to live in it, you have to say something to us." "Nonsense!" Grandma Chiao's cloudy eyes instantly became sharp, and she looked at Jiao Xia with disgust. "I'm not dead yet, who has the right to say it's her house? You bastard, this is your house." Jiao Xia's heart was full of sadness. "Grandma, since you were young, you have never looked at me directly." She blamed Jiao Xia for the death of her parents and sister, because it was Jiao Xia who chose to go to Egypt, and once made Jiao Xia commit suicide. "People." A servant came in and said softly, "Master, Madam, the guests have arrived." Jiao Guang pulled Jiao Xia back. "Xiao Xia, go up and sit down for a while. If you have anything to say, let's talk about it after uncle is done." Jiao Xia returned to her bedroom upstairs. Here is full of the most carefree childhood memories of her. When Jiao Guang's family moved into the house, she was very repulsive. However, she had no choice. Since childhood, in her mind, this is her house. It was left to her by her father. Jiao Guang occupied her parents' master bedroom as soon as she came, and Jiao Lan occupied Jiao Dong's bedroom, and even lost their things. She moved all the things of her parents and sister to her own room. Jiao Guang and Lu Mensi couldn't wait to destroy their parents. The traces of his existence with his sister seemed to cover up his ambition and greed. Jiao Xia looked at the family photos, one scene after another, as if she was right in front of her eyes. Her parents, her sister, and those fresh lives, she has always refused to accept the bad news. Jiao Xia hugged the family photo and fell asleep amidst the memories. When I woke up, it was already 8 o'clock. Downstairs was bustling. The hall was full of guests, jeweled, celebrities and superstars gathered together. Jiao Lan is a female star. There are always many celebrities attending the banquet held by Jiao's family. She saw Jiao Lan and Li Hui in the center of the crowd at a glance. Jiao Lan was wearing a champagne-colored evening dress, which was gorgeous and dignified. She was dressed in jewels, making her noble and charming. Li Hui was handsome and tall. Qin, like a victorious princess, kissed Li Hui's cheek sideways, and Li Hui's face was filled with a gentle smile. This scene hurt Jiao Xia's eyes. She withdrew to the room. This place did not belong to her long ago, she always knew it in her heart, but she was unwilling to accept it. "Jiao Xia, why bother?" Sister Gui came in with a glass of corn juice. "Miss Jiao Xia, you haven't eaten since this afternoon. I cooked noodles for you, and it will be ready soon. You should drink a glass of corn juice first to pad your stomach." "Sister-in-law Gui, don't bother me, I'll be leaving right away." Sister-in-law Gui sighed. "Miss, please take it easy, you and Li Xiao can only say that there is no destiny, don't fight against the old lady, be obedient to her, and you will feel better." "Thank you, Mrs. Gui." After Mrs. Gui went out, Jiao Xia was a little dazed, but she was really hungry, so she drank all the corn juice. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First love. Proposing bride is not her. She also wants to be filial to her grandma, but every time Grandma Chiao looks at her, her eyes are full of resentment, her filial piety is worthless. Jiao Lan pushed the door open and came in. The evening dress wrapped Mioman's figure, which was extremely charming. She was as proud as a princess. "Xiao Xia, are you leaving now? I want to introduce you to a man." Jiao Xia looked at her indifferently, with an ominous premonition in her heart. "Jiao Lan, since you were young, you have always robbed me of my things. You are so childish. Li Hui is yours. What else are you not satisfied with? You want to step on her wound. Xiao Lan approached her and lowered his voice, I just want to trample you in the dust, so painful. Get out. Xiao Xia pushed her away, you are so vicious. Xiao Lan was wearing high heels, Xiao Xia just pushed her slightly, she fell to the ground, groaned, and looked at Xiao Xia in pain, Xiao Xia, I just wanted to introduce someone to you out of good intentions, why did you hit me? She just pushed lightly, why did she fall? How did she hit her? Li Hui suddenly pushed the door open and came in, slapped Xiao Xia on the cheek with an extremely cold expression, Xiao Xia, I'm sorry for you, if you want to vent your anger, you come at me, what does this have to do with Xiao Lan, she's still your sister, you beat someone with your own hands. Xiao Xia originally thought that she had been disheartened long ago, but unexpectedly, at this moment, her heart was still pierced by a knife. Li Hui, who had always cared and loved her, beat her for Xiao Lan. This slap shattered all her fantasies. Childhood sweetheart, in the long river of time, her love is finally modeled and overwhelmed. There was burning pain on her cheek, but her heart was numb. Li Hui suddenly looked away, this is the girl he first admired, and he once thought about taking care of her and caring for her for the rest of his life. However, the world is fickle, and they have no destiny. She shouldn't have hit Kia Lan. Li Hui helped Xiao Lan up, she hugged Li Hui's arm, and said angrily, it's my own carelessness, don't blame Xiao Xia, I just feel sorry for her, last time I blacked her out because I was in a daze, this time I really want to make it up. Third young Master Lu likes girls like Xiao Xia very much, so I just want to ask her if she would like to meet her. Xiao Xia was dumbfounded, Master Lu San? Lu Yishan? The third young master of the Lu family, a typical second-generation ancestor, women are like clothes, change at will, and have many strange hobbies. Xiao Xia once wrote about his scandal, and a small model followed him for a month, and was tortured until he was out of shape. Xiao Lan can really kill with a knife. I know your kindness. Li Hui comforted Xiao Lan gently. Get out. Xiao Xia pointed at them, get out. Li Hui sneered, don't be ignorant of good and evil. Xiao Xia stayed in the room for a while, wiped away tears, and put the family portrait in the backpack. When she went downstairs, when the banquet was in full swing, Li Hui and Xiao Lan were dancing, and suddenly knelt on one knee in front of him, he proposed with a diamond ring. Xiao Xia's legs seemed to have grown roots, unable to move. She said to herself, give up, Xiao Xia, this scene allows you to clearly see a man's love for a woman, his love no longer belongs to you, it has long since ceased to belong to you. She thought she would be sad, but unexpectedly there was only numbness. Ever since I saw you for the first time, I know that my wife is you, Miss Xiao Lan, will you marry me? Li Hui looked at Xiao Lan affectionately, expressing his heart. Marry him, marry him, marry him. The friends around booed. Xiao Lan covered her mouth and cried excitedly. She was the princess of the audience, and the most eye-catching thing was that everyone knew that Xiao Lan was about to marry into a wealthy family and become the young mistress of the Li family. I am willing. Xiao Lan replied shyly. Xiao Xia thought numbly, this used to be her most beautiful dream, she once dreamed that Li Hui walked towards her like a prince charming, leading him away from the sea of suffering, he proposed marriage, she shyly agreed, and they would be together forever. Now, he proposes, and the bride is not her. What a mockery! The once love has become a joke. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Embroidered Pillow Lu San Shao. Not far from the banquet, a man's gaze has been on Xiao Xia since she appeared. He is a very outstanding man, with a white shirt and black evening dress, which complements him like a majestic orchid and a jade tree. His eyebrows are slightly protruding, his eyes are particularly deep, affectionate, and focused, his high nose and thin lips form an extremely handsome and charming face. There is a sense of domineering and uncompromising majesty in every gesture, and his abstinent temperament makes him too arrogant and indifferent, like a noble son who has stayed in a long time ago. He has a panoramic view of Jiao Xia's emotions. Behind him was a man in black who kept swiping his phone. He obviously looked capable and shrewd, but smiled obscenely. He looked up and said, "Si Shao, your little goddess is heartbroken. If you feel distressed, hurry up, go and take her away. I promise, she will not treat you as crazy. Go, Pikachu." The man's thin lips parted lightly. "Xiao Wu, shut up." Gu Xiaohu said coolly, "Si Shao, I found that you have serious voyeuristic behavior. Really, this is very uncivilized and ungentlemanly behavior. As your bodyguard, I have to remind you that this kind of it's quite dangerous." The man's tone was indifferent. "Gu Xiaohu, the Somalia branch needs. Fourth young master, I'll shut up." Gu Xiaohu made a gesture of shutting up, complaining wildly in his heart, "My master is really a big moron." Qiao Xia felt suffocated, and just wanted to get away from this place that suffocated her. "Xiao Xia." Qiao Lan did not let her go. She walked over with Li Hui on her arm, like a victorious queen, looking at Qiao Xia with complacency. "You have come down, I was just looking for you." All eyes were on Qiao Xia. Qiao Xia looked so different amidst the jewels. She was wearing a white shirt, sky blue jeans, an unknown wristwatch, and an unknown watch on her back. Bags, in front of well-dressed women, look particularly simple. However, it is such a different existence that makes her naturally beautiful. Along with them came a handsome man. Qiao Xia recognized him. She was Lu Yishan, the third young master of the Lu family. She had a very bad reputation and treated women very badly. Although she was very rich, she was listed as a user who refused to contact her. If he accidentally falls in love with him, then ask for blessings. "Lu San Shao, this is my younger sister, Qiao Xia. She has always wanted to know you, so I'll set up a line for you. It's up to you whether it will work or not." Lu Yishan glanced at Qiao Xia, and touched Qiao Xia's face unceremoniously. "You look really good." Qiao Xia avoids Lu Yishan's hand, and looks at him with a frown. Lu Yishan is slightly displeased. "I don't know how to compliment." Qiao Lan smiled. "Lu San Shao, don't mind, my sister has always been rude, and the family is spoiled. The Lu family is one of the big families in City A. They are powerful and have a strong family business. As Qiao Lan, there is no way to invite Lu Yishan." She specially asked another spray dog to invite him over. She knew that Lu Yishan liked Qiao Xia. Such type. As long as Lu Yishan has his eyes on Qiao Xia, she just can't live or die. Even if she is lucky enough to be liked by Lu Yishan, that's not a good thing. Lu Yishan is lustful, so how could she offend the Qiao family and the Li family for a woman? "Lu San Shao, Qiao Lan and I are not familiar, so you don't have to take his words to heart." Qiao Xia said, "Even, we can be called enemies. An enemy introduced you to me. What kind of wishful thinking did she have? Third young master is so smart, he should know how she thinks of you, so I don't need to say more." Qiao Lan's complexion changed, and he said instead, "Qiao Xia, my sister wanted to introduce you to a boyfriend with good intentions. You always said that you want to meet some important people. Third young master is a big man. Are you not satisfied? Third young master, I really want to set up a line for you, not what Qiao Xia said. It doesn't matter what you think of me, who are you?" Lu Yishan sneered and mocked. Qiao Lan's face was pale. Today she is the princess, everyone's eyes are on her, all the women are jealous of her. She married Li Hui, the fifth son of a diamond, and Li Hui is so eye-catching and handsome, she wants the audience. All eyes fell on her. Who knew that she would still be angry and dare not speak out after being ridiculed by Lu Yishan like this? Qiao Lan felt extremely resentful towards Qiao Xia. It's all Qiao Xia. If it wasn't for Qiao Xia, how could she be ridiculed by Lu Yishan, so shameless? End of this chapter.